Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight's show is basically going to be about, we're going to debate United's attacking. If you call it a dilemma, if you want, it's a nice dilemma, a nice headache for a coach to have. But how are United going to solve their front line in this new formation system? If it stays like this, is it going to be a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3? Who misses out? Is it more square pegs in round holes? What's the best balance? And what setup kind of suits them most? And who are you absolutely adamant that should definitely be starting and never be benched? I think there's a couple of players in mind. But it's an interesting conversation, and I feel like it's a conversation that we've needed to have for a while now, because as many of the problems are defensively, and we all know about them, we've covered that extensively. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but there we go. And as much as the problems are in midfield, from an attacking perspective, the numbers are quite good. Remember, last season, we only scored around 40 goals. I think we're on track to score 70 this season if we keep doing what we're doing. So that's nearly double what we did last season. So obviously the metrics have gone up. You look at anything in regards to, expected goals, chances created, touches in the opposition's box, which sounds dodgy. But those kind of things United are excelling at, right? And for good reason. It's because we've got a lot of good attacking players. Now, we also do have little bits of news in regards to, there was a report that MBUEMO apparently orchestrated his own sacking, which I found very interesting. I'll get into that towards the end. And we've got updates on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick. And I think that update's interesting in itself. And I've got some head-to-head stats as well, in terms of Ollie versus Carrick, points per match, goals per game, goals conceded, win rate, all that kind of jazz. So I think that's really interesting as well to get into, to see. Obviously, one's at Middlesbrough, one's at United, so I think context is important in regards to that. But yeah, that'll be towards the end. We're going to kick things off with the attack. So the big picture basically is we're going to start with the system first. So in this new system now, call it 4-2-3-1, fluid football, shift it quickly, getting behind the opposition, kind of what United's always associated with, right? Wingers out wide, going 1v1, get it out there quickly and challenge them. These are the things we see. Now, is it a case of, obviously under Ruben Amorim, when he brought in these players, Ahmad was being used as a wing back, and MBUEMO was being used as an inside 10. Sesko or Zirkzee was being used as a striker. Bruno would be played in midfield, so he'd be deeper. Dorgu would be out on the left, and then CUNHA would be in the left 10 pocket, right? So you could fit the majority of them in. Now when you look at it, if it's a straight up 4-2-3-1, I don't see whether it's Fletcher, Carrick, or Ole, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see one of them using Bruno in a double pivot. Maybe it might happen on occasion, but you saw from last night, hands down, no one will argue on this point, his best position is a number 10 in the team, right behind the striker, and I believe Sesko is going to improve a lot because of having someone like him behind him, and even his stats. I mean, I was going to get into it later, but I saw something before. Created more chances than anyone in the league, so 56, and has provided more assists than any other player in the Premier League this season as well. Numero 1 in the Premier League, the best league in the world. So that tells you everything you need to know. So that is a non-negotiable for me. Bruno Fernandes has got to be in the team. And again, you'd find it hard to find a United fan who disagrees with that. You will find someone who disagrees with it, but it's more because they want to rub a bit of friction. I don't know if anyone's seen Lee Gunner for Arsenal, who claims to be an Arsenal fan, but he just always goes against the grain. Saeed is the perfect example, or Rance is a perfect example from United. They'll just go against the grain. Negative engagement is engagement, and it'll get people interested. So Bruno Fernandes has to start as the 10. But then I'm thinking, right, okay, well, if we don't want to necessarily put square pegs in round holes, who suits which role best in that setup? If we want balance and structure, who's going to fit it best? So I think Mount's out of the question, personally. And again, what will come into it, obviously, will be a conversation of whoever it is that we're playing. So it will be based quite a lot off, are we playing Arsenal at the Emirates, or are we playing a Bournemouth at Old Trafford? Do you know what I mean? Like, slightly different games, tailor-made for different players. But in general, I'm talking about the number one options in those positions. In centre attacking mid in the 10, you're going to play Bruno Fernandes over Mason Mount. As much as I like Mount, Bruno's a better player. Simple as. On the right-hand side, you have Ahmad and then MBUEMO, right? Who can play there. Take your pick out of them, because I don't want to do that. Especially Ahmad's form at the moment, what he's doing at AFCON with Ivory Coast, assists, goals, potentially being player of the tournament, and how he did before MBUEMO arrived in that position. Quality player, no doubt about it. But since MBUEMO's come in, player of the month in October, scored quite a few goals, a big portion of our goals, obviously, before he went off to AFCON. And that's his position. I know MBUEMO is versatile and he can play across the front line, but I believe more at Brentford. Thomas Frank set up with more, again, a 3-5-2 system or a 3-4-3 system. So you're either in the inside pocket or you used as a split striker, sometimes even used as a wing back. I don't think he's played on the left. And from things I've seen, maybe he's done it at Troyes where Brentford bought him from. I'm not sure. We've never seen him on the left, even for United. We've never seen him on the left. We've seen if Ruben Amorim was going to pick someone, he'd push Ahmad out there on the left-hand side. I don't like Ahmad on the left-hand side. Never have. And both of those players are really good at cutting in on their left foot. So you are taking away something from them, from their main game, square peg, round hole, on the left-hand side. So I don't want to play MBUEMO or Ahmad on the left, but then you've got to pick between the two. If you've got a gun to your head and you have to pick out of both of them, you haven't got a gun to your head, a metaphorical gun to your head, and you have to pick between them, who do you go for? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Can MBUEMO be used as a striker? In which case, what happens to Benjamin Sesko? What kind of striker do we need in this system? Because I thought Sesko looked really good against Burnley yesterday. Stretching the play, playing into feet, crosses into the box. He looked like he could do everything. And he's got the pace as well. And he's got the more clinical nature than the Joshua Zirkzee. So Sesko starts up top for me, which won't surprise anyone. But it's got to be Bruno, Sesko, and then you go, okay, who's playing on the left-hand side? Is CUNHA, and how many times has CUNHA played on that left-hand side in this kind of setup? It's different. With Ruben Amorim, he played that at Wolves, didn't he? You have a wing-back who will provide the width and overlap, and you can operate in those pockets in tight areas. And that's where he's best based, right? So if you're going to play CUNHA on the left-hand side, you need a full-back who is going to bomb up and down like you wouldn't believe. Like a Nuno Mendes, for example, who's just going to be constantly there, back and forth in defensive areas and attacking areas. Shaw did it to a certain extent yesterday. Obviously, his legs are going slightly. So, again, do they push Dorgu back there? Dorgu played at left wing yesterday. He was good at right wing as well. But, again, if it becomes between Ahmad and MBUEMO, you're going to play one of them two over Patrick Dorgu. But Dorgu looked all right on the left wing. He had his moments. So, I don't know. Left side, I'm kind of like... I'm struggling. Help me in the comments. What would you personally go for? Who should play where? And give me your actual reasons for it. Don't just say, I like him, so he's going to play there. Give me some context or some tactical context as to why you would put them there. I think CUNHA on the left because he's more natural there than what MBUEMO and Ahmad is. But I just can't see a world of benching one of them. I cannot see a world of benching Ahmad or MBUEMO. They are two good players to be there. So then it's like, okay, if you're going to move MBUEMO over to the left, you're going to drop CUNHA. And you've just spent 60 million quid on CUNHA to bring in. This is why I'm calling the title an absolute dilemma. It's a problem, which I'm struggling with. And again, not every player is going to play every single game. We don't know if we're even going to be in Europe next season. We don't know what the game load's going to be like. But if we do go into next season, then we've got, let's say we get Europa League, just as it stands at the minute, which might not even be a thing. But we finish 7th or 8th or whatever it is. We get Europa League, you're in the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, you don't get knocked out by someone like Grimsby again. And then the Premier League, that's 4 competitions. You're playing on average probably 60 to 70 games, roughly, right? Which is more than enough given Mason Mount has injury issues. We know that. I mean, Bruno didn't have any injury issues until the season. He got a hamstring injury and came back 17 days later. So we don't have to worry about that number 10 position. I don't think CUNHA, Ahmad, and MBUEMO or anyone like that are necessarily injury prone. So for me, right now, it's Bruno, it's Sesko. Oh, God. This is so hard. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think MBUEMO offers more of a goal threat on that right-hand side. I think they're both, him and Ahmad are both unbelievable players, but MBUEMO statistically offers more of a goal. I mean, 27 goal involvements for Brentford last season. I don't know what he's got for us so far. I'm sure it's 7 goals, 6 or 7 goals, and a couple of assists, maybe. Let's have a look. If anyone knows, get it in the chat. MBUEMO stats, Man United. 6 goals and 1 assist for United in 16 games. Ahmad, a bit interesting. 6 goals, 1 assist from MBUEMO. I'm curious to know what Ahmad's got for us. Obviously, he's got 3 goals and 1 assist in AFCON at the minute. But for United, he's got 2 goals and 3 assists. So MBUEMO's got 7 goal involvements. Ahmad's got 5 goal involvements in the Premier League. Not too far off what you want from a winger. Obviously, you want those numbers to improve as well. But there you go. Answer that question. Ahmad or MBUEMO on the right-hand side. Who are you playing and why? I love Ahmad, and everyone who's watched this channel for a long, long time knows I absolutely adore him. Watched him go, his career from when we first even got linked with him when he was in Atalanta in the academy and he was tearing it up there, to his loan move to Rangers. Watched all the games that he played there, to Sunderland under Tony Mowbray. Watched him become a superstar there, and then he's just built on that and improved and looked really, really good for us. And the wing-back role for me, whenever I watched him play at wing-back, I was just like, I thought that was his best position at times because he seemed more effective. But if you're telling me, are you going to play him at wing back or have him as a right side in a 4-2-3-1, it's a right side in a 4-2-3-1 every single day. So I think MBUEMO would just probably edge it. I don't like Ahmad on the left, so I would put Matheus CUNHA on the left because I think he offers us something different. And MBUEMO will be that guy who can get in behind the defense. He'll make line-breaking runs. He'll drag players centrally. CUNHA is someone who can do play to feet in tight areas, can unlock a defense. So you have different qualities. Bruno Fernandes will drift about the pitch anyway. Doesn't matter. He can kill you from anywhere. You saw that last night in the Burnley game. The guy went over to the right-hand side, and as soon as Fletcher made that move, once you make your move, I'm free to check the king, or whatever they say. He goes over to the right-hand side, and then straight away a ball for Benjamin Šeško, and Šeško goes and scores. So he can go anywhere he wants. And again, the front line will be fluid. So it's not necessarily you stay in the centre, you stay on the right, you stay on the left-hand side, and that's how we're going to operate. It's not going to work like that. It's going to be fluid. But that's the 4 I would go with for now. Šeško, MBUEMO, Bruno Fernandes, and CUNHA on the left-hand side. I think that's the best balanced front 4 personally. And then if you've got players like Ahmad and Mason Mount to bring off the bench, and other quality. Obviously, when we've got players coming back, we've got Matthias de Ligt and Harry Maguire. It was refreshing as well to see yesterday in the Burnley game that the more depth that we had on the bench. Kobbie Mainoo, I've not even spoken about, but obviously he's not going to play in a 10 position. It'll be one of the pivots. But if Mainoo's going to play in one of the pivots, you need a Carlos Baliba or an Adam Wharton or something maybe next to him. He's a bit more of a, we'll sit, we'll cover ground. Or Elliot Anderson, ideally, probably. If you could do Elliot Anderson, Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno in the midfield, that could cook. And you've got good, strong British roots in the midfield as well. That's not always, I'm not saying that's mega, mega important, but for United, traditionally, having academy players and British stars, you think Wayne Rooney and Rio Ferdinand, the players like this, would love a Cole Palmer. That's the way I want to see this team cooking. So that's the front line. If I'm doing the full team right now, I'm going Son. If everyone's fit and available, and get your 11 in the comment section, I'm going Lamont in net. There'll be no debate on that. You won't find one fan who will disagree with that. I can guarantee you, unless it's Bayandier's dad or mum. Mazraoui as the right back is far superior than Diego Dalot. Not even a question. Especially in the back 4 on the Ten Hag, Mazraoui is really good. So I'm interested to see how he cracks on there. Centre-back partnership is really interesting because I think they all have different traits. So Lisandro Martinez at the club is the best on the ball and can play through lines and can take it under pressure. He's really press resistant. And he obviously has qualities off the ball, the intangibles that you can't see, like the leadership skills. And he's up for a fight with anyone. And those kind of things matter, right? Especially if you're going into games like Anfield or, I don't know, you're playing in Turkey somewhere or something. Those qualities matter. Aiden Heaven, good height, wins a lot of his aerial duels. I've rarely seen him get a beat in the air. Genuinely, he's strong. Um, he he can cover ground. He's relatively quick. Good on the ball. I mean, the guy used to be, I think, coming up through the ranks, he was defensive midfielder, and was decent on the ball. I've seen goals he scored for Arsenal's academy where he's just driving through the middle. So he's really, really good with the ball. We saw that in numerous games. Obviously, he's had moments in the team where you see that inexperience and naivety. So I think when De Ligt comes back, he won't be a starter. So I'd have Matthias De Ligt at centre back. I think all around he's got everything you need. He's quick enough to keep up with majority of players. He's really good at jumping in and pressing on players. I think he's decent. Whether that changes or not in the back four system, yet to be seen. But obviously, he's played multiple systems already, having played Ajax, Juventus, and Bayern Munich. So we'll have no problem with that. And I just think De Ligt's probably the best centre back at the club. Is that fair to say? Maybe best centre back at the club. The way he's performed this season, I would say he's been an absolute rock for us and has been overlooked as well, because I know we've only kept 2 clean sheets all season, and I know we've conceded a lot of goals, but I don't think any of them necessarily, or a lot of them, haven't been down to him. He's been solid at the back. So I would go Lamont in net, Majority at right back, De Ligt at centre back. I think when Ollie comes in, or if Ollie comes in, Maguire will be back in that back line 100%. But I would worry about pace in behind. Again, it all depends. There's a lot of things that could change or tweak. If you're going to have a deep defensive line, are you going to press high up, or you don't know. But I would probably go De Ligt, Aiden Heaven, because I don't think Aiden Heaven's as good on the ball as Lissandro, but I think he's pretty capable. And I think he can learn a lot next to someone like De Ligt. So I'd go De Ligt, Aiden Heaven, Luke Shaw as your left back. So Le Mans, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Heaven, Shaw. That's my back line, back 5. I know people have PTSD when I say back 5, but I mean the keeper as well. In the pivot, you don't really have many options. I don't see a midfield of Casemiro, Mainu, and Bruno working as a 3. I don't think there's enough legs in there. Mainu is not an athletic player who can cover ground, box to box, like a Declan Rice, for example. Casemiro can sit and protect, but again, you're going to end up with him doing the 2-man job again, and he's 33 years old. That's not going to happen. So you can go anywhere you want. You could put Ugarte next to him, but then, as you saw against Burnley last night, very, very limited in terms of progression of the ball. A lot of teams just let him have it. They will just sit off him and go, yeah, do your worst, mate, because you're not going to do much. And he seems to panic when he gets on the ball as well. So I know we can get about, but we had a player in that like Fred who could get about, and we ended up getting rid of him. I think Ugarte probably ended up being sold. So the double pivot, you're going to have problems regardless wherever you go. I just don't think it's an issue that we can solve, and we have to go into the market. Especially now, if you're playing, someone mentioned it in the chat the other day, if you're playing with 3 midfielders, if Casemiro goes, we sell Ugarte, you don't know what's going to happen with Bruno. You're going to need to invest a lot of money in there. You're going to have to get maybe a couple of astute pickups. Again, this is all dependent on European football if we get it or not, because that obviously adds to the transfer kit. But you might have to go into Europe or Saudi, for example, get a Ruben Neves or an Angelo Steel, someone 20 to 40 million quid who's a bit of a seasoned player in there, bring them in and they can do a job. Have one of those players, then really go and spend money on someone like a Carlos Baleba and maybe an Elliot Anderson or a Carlos Baleba and Adam Wharton, and really revamp that midfield. And then you've got players for the future. And then you've upgraded your attack, your midfield with a good age profile. So then by the time you get to the defense, you've got those players kind of starting to push into the prime. Because don't forget, we signed Sesko. I know Sesko's only just started going now and clicking, but the guy's, was he 21, 22, I think? I think MBUEMO was only 25, 26. Same with Matheus Cunha, exact same age. Like, they've got years to grow into and get into the prime. And then you buy a Baleba who's 22. Adam Wharton's a similar age as well. And they're already quality and doing it in the Premier League and they're proven. So I do believe they will go for someone like that because they're proven with the odd kind of European sprinkle in there. And then, yeah, you can start to invest in your backline, can't you? And we can look at that. The backline is weird because at the start of the season, when everyone was talking about transfers and what we should do, everyone was going, obviously, the attack needs improving and the midfield improving. No one spoke about the defense. And that's been the worst part of this season because we had so many defenders Yoro, I'm not even mentioning Lenny Yoro. That's because of the bad form that he's been in. Didn't even consider him for the backline, which is crazy because Yoro's an exceptional talent. But this because we've got so many. You've got Harry Maguire, Mateus DeLitt, Aiden Heaven, Lenny Yoro, Lissandro Martinez, Luke Shaw, Patrick Dorgu, Diego Dalot, Nasser Mazraoui. I'm trying to think of anyone else I'm missing. Like, you've got a lot of options there, but just because you've got a lot of options doesn't mean the quality options. So again, I think you need Liverpool when they were scoring a lot of goals with Klopp, and they would still concede a lot. So we're scoring a lot, we're conceding a lot at the minute. And you saw as soon as they brought in Alisson and Van Dijk, it changed completely. Le Mans is coming at a really good effect, but do you still need a premium centre back in that back line? And will they do that? Will they invest or will they buy fullbacks? What happens now? I imagine the whole plans that they had for the summer and who they was going to buy has completely changed now, right? Because they probably went, right, we need a couple of wing backs. We need these type of midfielders for Ruben's system. And we need these kind of centre back. And that gets chucked out the window now, all the work that they've done. So who did he pivot to? Or did he still go for the same targets regardless? It's fascinating. Right. I want to move on and dive into some of the topical news. I've just mentioned Ruben Amorim there, and it's kind of the perfect segue. So Stephen Railston, who we've had on the show before, works for the MEN, covers quite a lot of the academy games, says Man United sources believe Ruben Amorim intentionally orchestrated his sacking during that post-match press conference. And Casemiro wouldn't have been pleased to see a manager who trusted him walking out of the door as well. And apparently his future is based on a lot of what happened with Ruben Amorim. So interesting to see kind of what players this is going to affect in the long term in terms of recruitment. Because obviously someone like Patrick Dorgu, for example, was brought in. And I know they say INEOS is a team they recruit not based on the manager, based on, a certain philosophy they believe in. But Dorgu was brought in as a wing back. So now are you going to change from that and start using him more as one of the attacking players, or basically have him as like a winger, a backup winger? Which I wouldn't be mad at. I mean, it was only like 20 million quid, wasn't it? But then, yeah, what other players are going to suffer in the long term with Ruben Amorim going? Like, who is his go-to guys who he would trust? And all of them are still probably going to play, really. Like, he loves CUNHA. He loves Bruno. He loves Mount, maybe. Mount will suffer quite a lot. Because what we had is when we had those two number 10 positions, you had a lot of options for rotation. So Mount could come in on the left-hand side quite a lot, no problem. Now, when you go back, the same conversations that happened under Eric Ten Hag, and it was like, why have they bought Mason Mount when we've got Bruno Fernandes? Those same questions are going to return. So maybe Mason Mount is one of them. Probably the worst one out of the lot. Another question I wanted to ask was, do you think Ruben Amorim will get another big job in Europe? Like, where is his next step to now? When you've been at United, done what you've done, end up with a 34% win rate, one of the worst managers in our history, and you end up with like 14 wins in 56 games. Is he going to get another massive job, or is he then going to have to step down to then go back up again? Someone respectable, like, I don't know, can't even think. I don't think someone like Dortmund, maybe Dortmund would take him. That's the highest level I think you're going to get stepping down from United. I mean, you saw Eric Ten Hag go to Bayer Leverkusen, which, Bayer Leverkusen is still a big club. Obviously didn't go too well there. But I think it's interesting to see where he's next. Obviously, he's going to take a lot of time off. You've got 10 million in the bank. So, he's not skint, let's put it that way. But I'm fascinated to see what his next move is, because I still think, in a weird way, that he can be successful. I still think he can go somewhere and do a job. Just the back five at United and how long it was going to take and the results on the pitch, you're never going to get that time. If he would have gone to a Brighton, people would probably talking about him as the next great manager, because there's no real pressure and expectation as opposed to what it is at Man United. We are a different beast. We've absolutely cooked the majority of managers who come in. Niche fan saying 4-3-3, Le Mans, Dalot left back. No, I don't want to see Dalot left back. Leach is centre back, Casemiro centre back, Dorgu right back, Mazraoui DM. Oh no, can't get with that at all. Amorim will go to City for sure. They'll fund his system properly. Now, if Amorim goes to Man City, I would be absolutely astonished. That will never, ever, ever get over the fan base. They will turn around and go, "Are you telling me you want the fans, if they were City fans, and saying you want us to accept Man United's worst manager ever, who we were slagging off for a year and a half, to be our new manager?" It just wouldn't settle well. It really, really would not settle well with him. So I think they're probably going to go get Maresca. I think, when Ornstein talks, a lot of people listen. I think Maresca is probably the next one who's going to go in. As for us, Rob Dorset from Sky reporting before. I'll pop it on the screen. Just change the layout. Pause that. Rob Dorset. Good old Rob. What's going on here? Swap. So, I'll go back to that because you can't read it. It's looking increasingly unlikely that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick will be asked to work together in an interim role at Manchester United for the rest of the season. It seems that United's bosses consider both as a natural number one. And what I thought I'd do is just put a slight comparison on the screen. Just that obviously one's at Middlesbrough and one's at United, right? So context always important, but a head-to-head record. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's win percentage rate, 54%. Michael Carrick's win percentage, 47%. Points per match, 1.79 for Solskjaer, 1.57 for Carrick. Total matches, 450. So this is their total managerial record, by the way, not just at the respective clubs. But obviously, Carrick's only been an interim at United and then a permanent manager at Middlesbrough. So Ollie's managed, I think, like 200 games at Molde in Norway, then obviously did Cardiff and then United. So 450 in total, 136 for Carrick. Goals scored per game, and again, this is based off overall, 1.9. Goals scored per game for Carrick, 1.62. Goals conceded, 1.2. And goals conceded, 1.3. So obviously, Ollie's is better when you look at it pure statistical, but then you're saying, he's got better players. He's at a bigger club. The likelihood is you're going to score more goals and do this and that or whatever. But then again, you in the Premier League, you're playing much tougher opposition, right? So how do you kind of contextualize that? I think it's interesting. Well, clearly, Ollie's got a better record. He's more experienced. He's managed the club before. I know Carrick managed a couple of games and was an assistant. But Ollie, for me, would lead the race in those two specifically. Carrick is... he hasn't managed... If we do get back into Europe again, he hasn't managed in Europe, per se. Obviously, as a player, he's been there. But Ollie has managed in the Champions League. Obviously, got that win over PSG. Reached finals in the Europa League final, obviously didn't win it, but I don't know. I just think when you compare them both, Ollie is the leading one for me. If I'm Jason Wilcox or Omar Barada now, and it's between the two, I'm going for Ollie. I just think it's more, from a betting man, I'd more kind of lean towards that. Now, as for a permanent search, Romano's reporting that a Premier League experience will be key with the ability to play high quality ball, trust young players. That approach is strongly backed by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who wants the club to place greater emphasis on developing its own young talent. So we're going through a checklist and you're going Premier League experience, play high quality football, trust the youth and push the youth. Who are those three players? You could say De Zerbi fits into that category. Think about the young talents that he worked with at Brighton in Moises Caicedo and McAllister and players like that. Cucurella. You could say Glasner is another one. But again, is he gonna play a similar setup to what he did at Palace with a back five, or will he look at the players we've got and adapt? Because at Frankfurt he played a totally different system. But again, you look at young players at Crystal Palace who are doing really, really well. Adam Wharton's a name that I've just mentioned. Sarr came in, and I know he's not like a young kid, but developed him. He's looked good at Crystal Palace. There's quite a few managers who fit into that category who will push youth players, who will play high quality football and have managed in the Premier League. I mean, Thomas Tuchel's another one. He's a name that keeps getting mentioned. You don't know what's going to happen with the World Cup. If England reach the semi-finals and go out, is that it? Is that Tuchel done? Finito? And he doesn't manage England anymore, and then he goes back into club football. What happens is if he wins the World Cup? If he wins the World Cup, surely England are going to be like, mate, stay on, please. We want to keep winning these. In which case, then negotiations come a bit more difficult. But if United are waiting purely for the summer, why wait purely for the summer? If you're going to go for an Iraola or Glasner, I know Glasner's contract runs out in the summer, so in terms of a compensation package, that may be the case. I think they're waiting for the summer because I think they're waiting to see what happens with Thomas Tuchel. That's what I think. He would be, out of the most available ones, or someone who's we could potentially talk to, and someone who we've spoken to before who didn't think it was the right time. I think Thomas Tuchel would be number one for me. If you're saying any manager, I'm saying like a Luis Enrique or someone like that. But out of people who we can potentially go and get, it's Tuchel. But a list is so fucking long of people who manage in the Premier League and trust you. Pochettino was another one that's been mentioned. You know, we probably might manage America, home soil, all that kind of jazz in the World Cup. Do a decent job with him, and then return to club management. Will people want someone like Poch at the club? You got Poch, Glasner, De Zerbi. People talk about Unai Emery, Iraola. There's loads. There's loads of names. But Tuchel is number one for me. I think we should definitely go for that. But Tuchel would never be subservient to Wilcox. You're right. You're right. And I think that's where they're going to struggle, because if they want this blueprint at the top of the hierarchy where they're saying, you know, we kind of want to have an influence on what kind of football we want to see, and we're going to be recruiting players for that. Would Pep allow that? No, I don't think so. Would Unai Emery allow that? If you look at what's happened at Aston Villa, the amount of control Unai Emery has at Aston Villa, you ain't getting that at Man United. So that won't happen. He has gone in there with a whole kind of database analysis system, brought in people at the top that he wanted in. Like, he controls almost everything at Villa. Pep's the same. Pep's super controlling personality. He wants to have a stronghold on certain things. So people will brand it as INEOS want a yes man. It's somewhere in between that. So a young manager who is someone like a McKenna. I'm not saying he is a yes man, but he's more likely to have less demands than a Tuchel or Pep. So I think they'll go more down that route personally. And who that is the magic question in it and the magic answer. I have no idea at the minute. We're going to be linked with so many different names over the next kind of what have we got now to the end of the season? About 4 months until we hit June. And then when we hit June, you've got the World Cup, and it's just going to be chaos around United. Utter chaos. Casemiro leaves. Is Bruno Fernandes going to Saudi Arabia? Who's Man United's next manager going to be? Did they get into Champions League football? Did they finish 10th, 11th? Is this a disaster again for Man United? Yeah, strap in, people. Strap in, because it's going to be a very interesting 6 months on the horizon. So many things to talk about, and I always love speaking about the club I love. So appreciate every single one of you who have been in the chat. Again, if you're watching this later on, let me know who your front four would be. People are too scared to put the answer in. I get it. You know, it's a difficult decision to be made. But in a front four, out of Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Brian MBUEMO, Ahmad, Matheus Cunha, Dorgu, Joshua Zirkzee, Benjamin Sesko, who would be your front four in this system going forward, and who gets benched? Let me know, people. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the Arsenal-Liverpool game. I'll have the popcorn.